Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 17 of Swiss Army Sports. Today is October 26th in the Big 25 after a interesting week of college and NFL football and across all sports. I am your host, Will Spain, former long snapper for the Troy Trojans, also beat Governors and somewhat Houston Cougars. Not joined today by my co-host Luke Wallman. He had apparently better things to do, like a haunted house. A loser, in my opinion, but obviously he's not as dedicated to the pod as I am. Riding solo today. The producer had some homework he had to get done for the, being the good frat boy he is at Mississippi State. A fun weekend this weekend. We'll get into it. On today's agenda, we got our Week 9 recap for college football. The panic meter is back for its ninth week. We got our dog of the week on my end for college football. The Swiss Army Sports Week 10 Top 25, along with our CFB playoff picture for this upcoming week. NFL Week 8 recap. The NFL teams of the week and teams that are weak. Monday Night Football preview and best bets, along with a UFC 321 recap. Sad my co-host sitting here because he killed it on these picks. A little World Series peek in. And, we're Swiss Army Sports. We cover everything over here. So we got a CFL playoff preview as it is playoff time up in Canada. And then my best of the weekend. So let's get right into it with our picks of the week. And I had a horrific week going 3 for 4, dropping with a losing record now. Ole Miss headed into Norman, Oklahoma, and took care of business against the Sooners. The Sooners rallied a little bit late, but it was too little too late. This Ole Miss offense handled business in sloppy conditions in Norman. Oklahoma's defense didn't really have any answers for Trinidad Sean Bliss and the Rebel O. And Oklahoma tier just didn't look good. This isn't an elite Ole Miss defense, and I'm very disappointed with how Oklahoma played. Really thought the Sooners were going to go in and get a home win here against the Rebels, but unfortunately they were unable to do so, as did everyone else on the slate. Everybody thought Oklahoma here, but it was the Rebels. It was the Rebels in the end, and man, I just didn't see this one coming, to be honest with you. I thought Oklahoma was in prime position to win this football game, but nonetheless, the Rebels do take care of business. Shocker of the weekend, however, was USF was heading into Liberty Bank Memorial, the Liberty Bowl. They'll play the Memphis Tigers, and Luke got it, dude. He said that he thought Memphis was going to lose, but man, the Tigers able to put together yet another second half comeback and a botched snap on a missed field goal for USF to end up trying to tie it, and since it's overtime goes wrong, and the Tigers get a huge win at home in terms of Group 5 playoff contention, and this is just a backbreaker for USF. You had everything in front of you, and you couldn't get the job done, and still, in my opinion, an inferior opponent to the Bulls. Just only scoring 7 points in the second half while giving up 20 was just brutal for USF, and we'll see what how the rest of this G5 picture shapes up the rest of the year. The site of college game day, Missouri headed into Nashville and played the Vanderbilt Commodores, and the Doors got it done in a low-scoring defensive affair, 17-10. And I was big on Vandy at the beginning of the year. Y'all knew this. I've been big on Vandy ever since then, and I'm stoked to see them get the job done here. They have moved to 7-1. They are in the top 10 in the country. And this is a Vanderbilt team that people need to start paying attention to if they haven't already. I mean, this Vandy team looks playoff, like to be playoff contenders and be playoff ready. And, it's awesome seeing the turnaround Clark Lee has had in Vanderbilt to get such a huge ranked win against Missouri at home on college game day in a game that they probably didn't think it was going to go this way. I didn't get to watch, I was at Davis Wade Stadium, and I'll get into that. But, it seemed like a gritty win for Vanderbilt, and they needed to show that they can win in multiple different ways. They can win blowing you out, they can win high-scoring fashion, and they could also win that gritty defensive battle. Love to see it from Vanderbilt. BYU did exactly what we thought they were going to do against Iowa State, as everyone across the board had BYU. They go in to Ames, Iowa, and get a 41-27 victory. BYU is now 8-0. I don't feel like they're getting the respect that they are due. This is an 8-0 team in the Big 12. They very well, they've got Texas Tech, but that's about their last test. They could truly run the rest of the table, and I think BYU is primed for a playoff position. If they are able to get the job done against Texas Tech, which is their next game, you've got TCU at Cincinnati will be a tough test, and then UCF and the Stormin' Mormons. Woo, they are looking good and primed in the Big 12, looking to at least get a Big 12 title shot. Illinois had to travel to Washington, and boy, did the Huskies get the job done against the Fighting Illini, pretty much putting the nail in the coffin in the Fighting Illini's playoff hopes. Number 23, Illinois loses 25-42 against Washington. This is a good Washington team. A good Washington team that lost at home against Ohio State and then on the road at Michigan. This is a team that if they beat Oregon at the end of the year, then we're going to have to start thinking it is a 10-2 Washington team with losses to ranked Michigan and ranked Ohio State with a win over Oregon. Could find their way into some conversations for the playoff. Big win for Washington. Me and Luke had that one right. Michael had the Illinois Fighting Illini. He had that one wrong. A&M, statement win. And that ends up now breaking news, getting Brian Kelly fired at LSU. Brian Kelly out at LSU as a result of this loss. Me and the producer had LSU. Luke had A&M. He was 100% correct. Brian Kelly couldn't win the big game, and the front office of LSU saw that. A 49-25 blowout loss to Texas A&M. It was time for change in LSU. It was just a marriage that just never worked out, and it was long overdue. I mean, this was very long overdue. This LSU team had a lot of high hopes going into the season, especially after beating Clemson in week 1, but was just never able to materialize anything this season into being. I mean, this is an LSU team that I just don't think is that good. And now that they've lost Brian Kelly, I mean, they've probably lost the locker room. This is going to be tough sledding for LSU for the remainder of the season. And then concluding our picks, we had an SES game of the year, we thought. Number 1, North Dakota State was heading to number 2, South Dakota State. And let me tell you, South Dakota State got hammered 38-7 at home by North Dakota State, who, I mean, I think would be a top 25 team in the FBS right now if they were playing the level up. This North Dakota State team is elite. They're undefeated at 8-0, and they have drilled everyone they've played, including the number 2 team in the FCS. This is an FCS national title favorite right now in North Dakota State. So the leaderboard after week 9, Luke, 34-27, taking a commanding lead over me at least, but he's only one game ahead of Mikey, who is 33-28. I am with a losing record, sitting in last right now and in punishment position at 30-31, so I have definitely got to pick it up in these pick'ems. Got to. We've got to lock in, boys. I mean, it is just tough sledding right now for me in these picks. Going over the rest of the scoreboard in week 9, 22 Texas headed to Starkville, Mississippi, and played Mississippi State, won 45-38, outscoring the Bulldogs 24-7 in the fourth quarter and 7-0 in overtime. Shout out Matthew Caldwell, former Troy Trojan, with that touchdown pass that I still don't think may have been a touchdown pass, but it was a touchdown pass. To get the win for Texas over Mississippi State in overtime. Cannot believe I watched this game fall apart for the Bulldogs in person. We thought we had it won. We were celebrating. I mean, it was live in Davis Wade, and boy, did it just all come crashing down. Texas made Mississippi State do Mississippi State things, give up a punt return touchdown to tie the game. Mississippi State, Blake Shapen fumbles the ball and give us, basically no chance at any sort of points at the end of the game, and Texas able to squeak out a road victory. Now 6-2 Texas is something, we had to pay attention to. I didn't think this Texas team was very good. I still don't think they're very good. Mississippi State has now handed 3 teams wins, Tennessee, Florida, and Texas. This should be a 7-1 Mississippi State team primed to go to the playoff, it's just so unfortunate. This Bulldog team really has the talent to do everything they want to do this year, and just hadn't been able to win in the SEC. They just haven't found a way to win yet. They just don't know how to win, and it truly is disappointing on the end of a Bulldog fan. The Houston Cougars got a road win against number 24, Arizona State, 24-16, and this was absolutely for our now deceased head strength coach, Kurt Hester. I only spent 2 months at Houston, and Kurt was one of the people that touched me the most, and he's one of the few people I said goodbye to when I had to leave due to some reasons personally, and I was heartbroken when I found out yesterday while I was at the state game. Had one of my former teammates at Houston, and I've still stayed close to, shot me a text saying he had passed away this morning, and it got to me a little bit. And I'm glad to see that the boys were able to get it done for him, because I know exactly that's what he would want them to do, is just go out there and play their best, and they did. Now this is a 7-1 Houston team that is now ranked in the AP poll, and as you'll see in the Swiss Army Sports Bowl, this team is 7-1. Got to start paying attention. I mean, they're in prime to make the Big 12 title game. And they've got West Virginia, UCF, TCU, and Baylor, all 4 winnable games. An 11-1 Houston team with 1 loss could get in. They could get in to the Big 12 title game. And if they're into the Big 12 title game, they've got a chance to make the playoff, which would be insane for the Cougs. Love it for my boys. Indiana takes care of business against UCLA with a dominating 56-6 win. Kind of halts all that momentum UCLA had. Alabama survives a scare on the road with South Carolina, 29-22, scoring late in that fourth quarter to keep the Tide 7-1 and keep their SEC title hopes alive. Oregon played sloppy in a win over Wisconsin, 21-7. Really, just an uninspiring performance from the Ducks, only winning 14 against a bad Wisconsin team who's now 2-6 and 0-5 in the Big Ten. Georgia Tech, the number 7 team in the country, handled business against Syracuse 41-16, as did number 9 Miami 42-7 against Stanford. Texas Tech handled business against Oklahoma State 42-0, and Virginia squeaked out an overtime win against North Carolina 17-16. North Carolina going for two there to win the game, did not get it, and that's the difference between Virginia still being relevant and not. Tennessee got a road rivalry win over Kentucky 56-34. Louisville with a 14-point win at home against a bad Boston College team, uninspiring there from the Cardinals. Cincinnati's rolling. They beat a good Baylor offense 41-20, and boy, is Cincinnati now 7-1, 5-0 in the Big 12. Again, just like BYU, two undefeated Big 12 teams there, so Cincinnati is in good position in terms of the Big 12 title conversation. And Michigan got a rivalry road win against Michigan State 31-20. The Spartans tried to make a little late comeback, was just too little too late for Michigan State, as the Wolverines now improve to 6-2 and 4-1 in the Big Ten. The Panic Meter is back for its Week 9 edition. It is just me again. So, again, on a scale of 1 to 5 about how good we feel about your team after a loss or a close win if you're highly ranked. And this is mostly just in playoff, conversation. 5 out of 5 is we Gucci. 4 out of 5, calm down, we good. 3 out of 5, I don't feel good about this. 2 out of 5, it's almost hit the fan. And 1 out of 5 is panic. Our first team on the Panic Meter, now with 2 losses, is Oklahoma Boomer Center. I expected so much more of Oklahoma than to lose to both Texas and Ole Miss. That's why it's almost hit the fan for their playoff hopes. This is a team that now has to win out to even have a sniff at the playoff. And, I mean, they don't really have the easiest schedule. They got to go to Tennessee next week, then to Bama at home against Missouri, and then at home against LSU. LSU really the only win I can see, guaranteed for Oklahoma in their last final 4 games. It's going to be tough sledding for the Sooners. Jean Mateer has not played at the level he had before his injury. Don't know if he's fully healthy or not. Probably rushed this injury back. And, if you would have sat out, you lost to Texas anyway. Now you want to think, hey, if he sat out one more week, would he be a little bit better now? Maybe. So, I mean, that's definitely something to think about. But, yeah, as far as Oklahoma as a team, it's almost at the fan, guys. You can't afford to slip, and you've honestly got to blow one of these ranked teams out. To get back into that conversation now with 2 SEC losses, you're probably not going to the SEC title game. So, starting to become a disappointment now for the Sooners. Missouri, I'm in between panic and it's almost hit the fan for the Tigers of Missouri. They have suffered another SEC loss now to 2 top 10 teams, though. That's why it's not in full panic mode. You've lost to Vanderbilt, who's in the top 10, and Alabama, who's in the top 10. Now, you got A&M at home. If you beat the A&M, you all is forgiven, essentially. You end A&M's undefeated season, and now you are back rolling. Now, you're probably not going to make the SEC title game, but if you beat A&M, you beat State, you beat Oklahoma, and you beat Arkansas, it's going to be hard not to put a 10-2 Missouri team in that at least first team out, or in the playoff with the losses to top 10 teams. I mean, it is a tight window this year in the playoff. I mean, there's going to be a lot of 2-loss teams that are very deserving to get in, and I'm not 100% sure if Missouri's going to beat that team or not, but if they are able to at least if they go out there and dominate Texas A&M, I think this is a completely different conversation next week. But Bo Prabula really hadn't shown me anything offensively for Missouri that makes me think that they are going to do such. The defense looks fine, but just the offense is starting to stagger a little bit now as they get into tougher SEC competition. So that's why they're in between. It's almost hit the fan and panic for me as far as the Missouri Tigers go. USF. Oof, I was big on you Bulls and you let me down. That's why you were in panic. You've essentially got to, have chips fall where they may. I mean, I do think USF will probably win out on the year. They had their test, though, their conference test against Memphis and failed it. They lost 34-31. Now you've got UTSA. You got undefeated Navy on the road at UAB and at Rice. They should take care of UTSA, UAB, and Rice. I guess that's a test against Navy. If they win out, I mean, then you take care of the Navy side of things with only 1 conference loss, and you should get into the title game as long as, Memphis and Tulane, one of them is going to beat each other. I'm assuming you hope it's Tulane. So it'll be Tulane and South Florida in the conference title game. But Yeah, it's panic. It's panic time for the Bulls as far as their G5 hopes go. You really couldn't lose this game to Memphis, and you did. And it's a tough second loss, a tough pill to swallow for a game USF really should have won, and they were the better team in that football game up until the end. On a neutral field, I think USF wins this game against Memphis, but that's not the way it went. So I mean, all credit to the Tigers for being able to find yet another way to win a tough football game like they did against Arkansas, and yeah, panic time for USF. Dog of the week for me is Houston quarterback Connor Weidman putting out for Coach Hester. He was 17 for 22 in the air, 201 yards passing with a passing touchdown. But what really impressed me was 21 carries on the ground, 111 yards rushing, and 2 rushing touchdowns. That is a complete all-around performance for Connor Weidman as the quarterback got a ranked road victory against Arizona State and has ranked the Houston Cougars in the top 25, now sitting at 7-1. This is a Houston team. We got to start paying attention to the Cougs, baby. Yeah, woo, Cougar football. Let's go, Cougs. And Connor Weigman, you are my dog of the week. Now, our Week 10 Swiss Army Sports Top 25, kicking off still at number 1, Ohio State, and at number 2, Indiana, stays consistent. We bumped A&M up to number 3 from number 4, and Bama down to number 4 from number 3. Georgia stays at number 5 after the bye. Oregon stays at 6. Vanderbilt all the way up to 7 from 10. We've got Ole Miss at 8, Georgia Tech at 9, and Miami at 10, rounding out our top 10. BYU sitting undefeated at 11, and shout out to Producer. He's the one that tanked their ranking. They would probably be ahead of Miami and Georgia Tech if not for the Producer, ranking them at 15. Texas Tech at 12, Notre Dame at 13, Tennessee up from 16 to 14, Virginia up to 15, Cincinnati up to 16, Oklahoma falls all the way to 17, Louisville at 18 after a non-inspiring performance, Texas moves up to number 19, Michigan at 20, Missouri falls to 21, Tulane up to 22 now is our highest ranked G5 team in the poll. Houston makes their debut at 23, Utah is back in the top 25 at 24, and the Tigers are back in the top 25 at 25. Receiving votes was USF. They had 2 points. One ranked at 23. It was me. I still have ranked ahead of the Tigers. Still take the bet on the Tigers. I know neutral field, I think they win. Michael said I was bad as an AP voter when I said that, but I stand by it and I stand on business. So we move on. That is our Week 10 Swiss Army Sports Top 25, and now we are on to the Swiss Army Sports Week 10 playoff picture. I made it a little bit more in-depth this week. So our 4 byes. Number 1, Ohio State would face the winner of number 8, Ole Miss, sitting at 7-1, and number 9, Georgia Tech, our ACC automatic qualifier. They would get in as an at-large anyway right now. Number 2, Indiana, as a bye, would face the winner of number 7, Vanderbilt, and number 10, Miami, 2 at-large teams. Number 3, Texas A&M, would get the winner of number 6, Oregon, and number 11, BYU, our auto bid from the Big 12. And A&M is our auto bid for the SEC. Sorry for not mentioning that at number 3. And number 4, Alabama, with the last bye, would face the winner of number 5, Georgia, and our G5 currently top-ranked team, Tulane, at 12. In the hunt just missed for the Week 10 playoff picture as far as our poll goes is Texas Tech, Notre Dame, and Tennessee in order. And also in order, we have our G5 contenders. Memphis is the first team out as far as G5 goes, followed by USF, Navy, James Madison, Boise State, and welcome T. Roy. The Troy Trojans 6-2. Big win against Louisiana this week to go bowl eligible. Troy is back, baby. Tucker Kilcrease looks elite. That offense looks great with Ra Thomas, DJ Ebbs, Trey Taylor, what's his face had a big game. Jordan Lovett. Sorry, I forgot your name, bro. Dave Meadows in the backfield. Offensive line looks great. Defense looks unbelievable for Troy. And this is a good Troy Trojans team in the Sun Belt. Definitely James Madison, Troy out of the Sun Belt are the 2 favorites there. Boise State are a representative out of the Mountain West. And then 4 Americans team in that G5 conversation with Tulane currently holding the spot. And then Memphis, USF, and Navy. That'll all take care of itself as they all pretty much play each other. And that is a look at our Week 10 playoff picture for Swiss Army Sports. On to the NFL. Oh, I didn't update the Cowboy game. Well, good. Thursday Night Football, the Chargers routed the Vikings. This is a bad NFL weekend for me. I like the love my Cowboys and my number one team, but I do support the Vikes. They got blown out too. The Dolphins surprising blowout win against the Falcons this week. No Michael Penix Jr. Kirk Cousins not able to get anything going offensively for the Falcons. And Tua didn't look terrible as they blow out the Falcons on the road. The Bengals completely choked. They completely choked a 14-point lead and lose to the Jets, giving the Jets their first win of the year. All three of us both had the Falcons and the Jets, which is brutal. The Patriots took care of business and blew out the Browns at home. All three of us had the Pats. Scam Scattaboo, he is probably out for the year as Luke had the Giants and they lose in blowout fashion to the Eagles on the road. Me and the producer with the Eagles on that one. The Bills rout the Panthers. A lot of routes this week. The Bills rout the Panthers on the road as we all three had the Bills. The producer had it right. Tyler Huntley leads the Ravens on a home victory in a must-win situation for the Ravens and able to keep any sort of playoff hopes alive. He did his job. I think Lamar will come back next week and it'll be a completely different Ravens team, but this defense finally looked like it should and got a win against the Bears. Me and Luke were wrong on that end of the stick, picking the Bears. Thought they were going to get it done, but they did not. The Texans, they kept time of possession was the name of the game in this one. And the Texans had a staggering 22 minutes of possession in the first, or 24 in the first half. Unbelievable. You only let the Niners have 6 minutes of possession. We all three had the Niners in this one. The Texans, man, they had a game plan. They stuck with it, and they got a big home win against the 49ers. The Buccaneers took care of business on the road against the Saints. We all three had the Bucs, as did the Colts at home against the Titans. They routed the Colts. All three of us had the Colts. All three of us had the boys. We were all wrong. The Broncos got a huge road home win. This is a battered secondary for the Cowboys. They were down to 2 safeties on the roster that were dressed, and they got torched because of it. A huge win for the Broncos at home against the Dallas Cowboys. Currently going on is the Steelers and the Packers. I had the Steelers, the producer, and Luke had the Packers. And then tomorrow night we have the Chiefs and the Commanders, all three of us siding with Kansas City. NFL teams of the week and teams that are weak. My team of the week this week was the Baltimore Ravens. Like I said, this was a must-win situation for the Ravens. The defense stepped up against this Bears offense that has looked decent. DeAndre Swift looked great in this football game. Caleb Williams, not so much. But this Ravens team was able to get the job done with Tyler Huntley at the helm. Derrick Henry had a hell of a game for Baltimore, and that is why they are my team of the week. It was a must-win situation, and they got the job done. Now you're weak. The Bengals really needed this win against a really poor Jets team. They gave the Jets their first win, and they blew a 14-point fourth-quarter lead. Joe Flacco did play well, but, just sloppy football at the end for Cincinnati, and it led to, a win for Justin Fields and the Jets. That's huge for the Jets, and I'm happy for them, but it was brutal on our end for we had the Bengals, and you are weak for Cincinnati. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know what the hell that was. ESPN football college. My bad. Oops. Monday Night Football tomorrow night. The Washington Commanders, without Jaden Daniels, head to Kansas City and Arrowhead and face the Chiefs. My best bets. I love the Chiefs minus 10.5. I think they blow out the Commies at home. And I love Patrick Mahomes to go under 34.5 on his passing attempts. I just don't think they'll have to pass the ball much. I think he'll get most of his passing out of the way in the first half, blow him out. And he could not even see Patrick Mahomes in the fourth quarter. It couldn't be that ugly. So I like his under at 34.5 at passing attempts. And the Chiefs minus 10.5 on the spread. And as far as Monday Night Football is concerned. UFC 321 was in the middle of the freaking day, so I kept having to refresh it with horrible connection out there in Starkville, Mississippi to see what was going on in the big world of the UFC. Our first fight, Alexander Volkov fought Jayton Almeida. Almeida lost in split decision to Volkov. Luke nailing all of these picks because there was a no contest in our main event. He went 4 for 4. I went 2 for 4. Luke on the right side of things there with Volkov over Almeida as Volkov got a split decision win. We were both correct, and I was correct in terms of how I was going to get it done. Azamat Mirzakhanov got the knockout win in the first round against Alexander Rakic. 3 minutes and 11 seconds into it. Mirzakhanov will definitely now move up in the light heavyweight rankings as that short little dude looks like he can get the job done on the feet. Again, I also predicted this. Umar Nurmagomedov with a unanimous, boring decision win over Mario Bautista. He completely dominated that fight, and Nurmagomedov with a win in the bantamweight division. Luke got this one right. I got it wrong. Mackenzie Dern, shout out Mackenzie Dern. She got a unanimous decision win to win the women's strawweight title against Virna Jandiroba. This is one I didn't see coming. I thought Jandiroba was by far the better fighter. I thought Mackenzie Dern's track record was, iffy at best. But Dern able to, get the belt and the strawweight title, and that's UFC for you. And then in our main event, it was such a disappointment to see it go this way. In round one, 4 minutes and 35 seconds in, Tom Aspinall could not continue after being repeatedly poked in the eye by Cyril Gahn. And if you're not familiar with the UFC, you may be like, oh, Aspinall is soft for this. No, dude. He's taking a full finger punch into the eye. I mean, it is such horse crap that Cyril Gahn poked him twice. I mean, it was so bad that Tom Aspinall, and Tom Aspinall does not duck. So, I mean, it was so bad that he could not continue. I anticipate there being a rematch, but you're losing a fight if you're eye poking. I mean, it's like you're getting defensive and you're flinching while you're throwing punches, and that's why the eye pokes happen. It was soft as hell from Cyril Gahn to be eye poking Aspinall in the first round like that, and tough to see it as a no contest in the main event when you're building all this up, and it's unfortunate, but I do think Aspinall would get the win in a rematch, and that concludes our UFC 321 recap. The World Series. It all comes down to this, and we are tied at one game apiece as the Blue Jays blew out the Dodgers in game one, but the Dodgers got their get back in game two. On the bottom there, I have a reminder that Luke had the Jays in 7, and I have the Dodgers in 6. We have game 3 coming up on Monday with Scherzer pitching for the Jays and Glasnow pitching for the Dodgers. I do think the LA Dodgers get this one done with Glasnow pitching at home against the Blue Jays to head up 2-1 in the series. And I think they'll eventually be up 3-1, winning both games at home. And it's kind of going the way I thought it was going to go. I'm pretty sure I saw it said the Blue Jays were probably going to win game 1 at home. The Dodgers would probably win the next 3. The Jays would win game 5 at home, and then the Dodgers would finish it off at home in front of their fans in 6. So, I'm on pace right now to keep it going, and I'm excited to see what happens in the World Series. Playoffs, eh? We are in the CFL Grey Cup playoffs now, and with our friends north of the border. I do watch the CFL. My team is in the playoffs, the Montreal Alouettes, and I wanted to give a little Grey Cup playoff preview and picks. So on the west side, we have the 2-seeded British Columbia Lions, the BC Lions, against the 3-seeded Calgary Stampeders. I'm riding with the Stampeders on this one. I think this is a hot Calgary team. They have won they've won 3 straight. They lost last time at BC 38-24. I think this is a good enough team to where they're not going to lose all of their games to BC this year. I mean, I'm checking if I'm correct here. I think I may be. Sorry, there's a ton of weeks in the CFL season, guys. I mean, y'all wouldn't believe it. For as a little amount of teams they have, they do a good job. It's really fun football to watch. I highly recommend tuning in. It'll be on CBS Sports Network if you have not. So, I mean, they haven't beaten the BC Lions yet this year. And so I think, when you have 2 good teams playing each other, if one hadn't gotten the job done yet this year, they're going to eventually get it done. And I think they do it in round 1 of the playoffs here against the BC Lions. On the eastern side, the 2-seeded Montreal Alouettes, the defending Grey Cup champions, face off against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Now, if you know anything about the CFL, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are actually on the western side. But there's one less team in the east than there is the west, so they give, it's like a wild card. It's like the best team out of everybody else, like both east and west, out of the top 2 in the east and top 3 in the west. That 4th team, per se, if it was from the west or 3rd from the east, gets this wildcard spot. It was the 4th team out of the west, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and I think the Alouettes get the job at home as they've been a really solid team in the CFL this year. I like the Alouettes to beat the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the road, and I like Saskatchewan, the Rough Riders, to get the job done ahead of the Grey Cup to face off against Montreal. And I like Montreal to win the 2025 Grey Cup and repeat, obviously homering a little bit. But shout out Dre McCray. He returns kicks for Saskatchewan. He's a teammate of mine at Austin P. If the Alouettes do not get the job done, I hope they do with Saskatchewan. Shout out Cordell Jackson. A DB won Defensive Player of the Year for his team, the Edmonton Elks. also a former teammate of me at Austin P. And so, yeah, that is concludes my CFL Grey Cup playoff preview and picks. Well, by myself, so a little bit of a shorter episode today. So, best things that happened this weekend. It was Sigma Chi Parents weekend down in Mississippi State, so I got to go down and see my brother and watch the Bulldogs choke a win against the Texas Longhorns and ended up giving the win to Texas. But it was such a fun weekend. They had, dudes singing that before the game. We were pre-gaming. He was singing some country music, threw a little Pearl Jam out there. Went to the game. The game was fun. I know we lost, but the game was electric, and I'll get into that next. But I mean, afterwards we sat down. It was raining off and on a little bit, but it finally stopped raining. We were able to sit there, enjoy some drinks, and watch a country music cover band play some old '90s country. It was a fun weekend. I really enjoyed getting to see my brother down there at Sigma Chi Parents Weekend at Mississippi State. Dude, if you have not been to a Mississippi State football game when they're good, it's electric. When Sweet Dreams plays in the fourth, the Sweet Dreams are made of these. Yeah, that song is electric with a whole bunch of cowbells ringing behind it, a whole light show going on. It was me and my brother were jumping up and down, losing our minds. We were up 17 at the time, so we should have been. But that was such an electric moment. I got it on video, thankfully, and I've been watching it over and over again. I mean, it was just such a fun moment between me and my brother, just looking at each other, go losing our minds as Mississippi State was up against Texas at the time, and blowing it. But Sweet Dreams, definitely one of the best things that happened this weekend. And then Vandy, dude, I lost my mind when I saw the score flash up on the scoreboard that Vandy had beaten Missouri. I love Vandy. First football coach I ever played for. He played at Vanderbilt, so he used to take us all the Vanderbilt games when we were kids. He's a family friend of ours. We used to go to all the bowl games, and they made it to a bowl game under the James Franklin era. And I love seeing Vanderbilt return to that place of prestige in college football. I mean, we're not really. I mean, they've never really been at this level, but I'm glad to see Vanderbilt football being good and competitive again. I mean, they are elite this year, and y'all think y'all know I think they're going to be the SEC title winner. I think they're the best team in the SEC by far, hands down. And go Doors, anchor down. Well, that was 32 minutes of me yapping to y'all pretty much nonstop, and I do enjoy doing this, and I appreciate y'all listening. So this has been episode 17 of Swiss Army Sports. I will hopefully be back with my co-host Luke this week as we break down Week 10 of college football and Week 9 of the NFL, a little bit of the World Series. Pretty sure we got a fight night this weekend, and give a little bit more of a preview on the Grey Cup. So this has been Will Spain, your host of Swiss Army Sports. Have a good and blessed night, ladies and gentlemen.